Hello, hello, and welcome back to Finding Better. This is our podcast where we share experiences and we share wisdom. We don't share opinions, we don't share academics, we don't even share theories, but we share real life experiences that hopefully you can learn something from and apply to your own life. And share this with other folks. We don't want anything from you. We're just trying to help make things better. My name is John Suzuki, by the way, and I am your host. And we're just going to get right into this. My guest today is Hannah Sandmeyer. She is an amazing person that I've known for a long, long time, and she's just got the kind of energy and just an amazing person who is always positive and uh, is kind of the kind of person I want to be when I grow up. I mean, she's got an amazing heart, and she and I worked together in a previous life, and I just love her energy, and I'm honored to have her on the show. Hannah Sandmeyer, welcome.
No, thank you, John. So happy to
Yeah,
be here.
yeah, and you and I spent a lot of time together,
Yes.
and
And in beautiful places, most
in
typically.
amazing, amazing places because Hannah and I were both in the travel business and some of the most amazing places in the country and on the planet.
Mm,
So Hannah, I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the group
yeah.
and who are you and what makes you tick?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Hannah. I am 43 years old, John, if you can believe it. I mean, when we
Wait,
knew
you're
each other,
43?
I know. It
Since
is
when?
nutty. I know. I don't know what's
Okay,
happening.
folks, this is one of those things where, I mentioned this in a previous podcast that the older you get, the faster time goes. And the reason why that
Truly.
happens is because, as I said, 1 year when you're 2 years old is 50% of your life. But
Yeah.
1 year when you're, sorry, 1 year when you're 2 years old, 50, but 1 year when you're 50 years old is only 2% of your life.
Mm,
And so as
hmm,
you get older, time gets shorter.
mm.
And Hannah, you're 40, so whatever. Okay, sorry, go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
stunned. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I'm 43 years old. I'm like, almost a half life, right? I live in Portland, Oregon. I've been in
You're,
Portland. Yeah,
I'm, you're almost a half life.
half life, baby. I don't
Okay,
know. I
whatever,
mean,
whatever.
if I make
I
it to
thought
90, I'll be lucky.
I'll say a
Uh,
third. I'll say a third.
Good Lord. I hope not. But no, I live in Portland, Oregon. I have a young son, Brady. He's 9. He's the joy of my life. And yeah, I've been a career salesperson. John actually got me into this gig for about 18 years now. I've been doing corporate sales, working for companies of all sizes. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now. And I just started my own business, which is nerve-wracking but super exciting because I think that everything, of course, I believe in the butterfly effect, right? Everything that you
Totally,
do,
totally.
everything that you do leads to where you're going to be, and where you're going to be is where you're supposed to be, even if it sucks. And if it sucks, actually you're in the right place because that's where the work gets done, right?
Yeah, that's
And
true. That's
right.
true. One of my favorite quotes is from Denzel Washington,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "Ease is a greater enemy to progress
Mm.
than hardship."
Yep.
And
100%.
and so yeah, it's congratulations on starting your business. You're going to be amazing. You're going to be
Oh, thank you,
amazing.
John.
I've been there, done that too, and it is scary, but oh my gosh,
So
you're
rewarding.
gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have, one of the things that always struck me about you, Hannah, um, not very, I I can't well, I shouldn't say this, but you're always up. You're
Hmm.
always up, right? And your energy is high. And I've seen you down a few times, but boy, I see you get back right back up right away.
Hmm.
And tell us a little bit about your experience and kind of what makes you tick.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just having this conversation with my mom a couple weeks ago because
Uh-huh.
John, since I left the nest of Expedia in
Uh-huh.
2000, 2016, I think it was, 2018 it was. It's been rough. I mean, it's been rough for all of us, right? Right
Yeah.
pre-COVID, and then COVID hit. And then it's kind of been weird times. So I have found myself, as lots of us have been, working for corporate America. I've now been I was have been laid off 3 times in 4 years, right? So it's been ups and downs. And my mom asked me the same question. She's like, Hannah, how do you just like get through this? Like you always seem to like find a way
Yeah.
to the
Look at
other
you.
side.
Look at you.
Never
It's
You're never
amazing.
down for too long. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I just think that I've been super fortunate to have traveled a good portion of my life. I've lived in 3 different countries. I studied abroad when I was in university. I've been in a lot of different scenarios where I'm definitely the lucky one, and like you said, like yes, things, ease is not necessarily where you want to be, but certainly I've been born with a lot of ease. So I have a lot of context, right, and perspective, and I have a lot of I have a good sense of like, hey man, like things could be down right now, but they won't be for long. If I just put in the work. And one of my favorite most recently I came across this. I can't remember so I apologize, I can't quote the person, but it was the sentiment of abundance is not attained, it's tuned into. And I just like
Oh,
that.
interesting.
And that like hit, like I was like, what? And then you
That's
sit with it for a
true.
second,
That
and
is
then it
so
just
true.
and it slaps you in the face, right? It's like, that's not something you go after. It's something you tune into. So just do the work, lose the attachment to the end result, because you're never in control, right? You're never in control.
Yeah.
Just do the
Control is
work
an
at
illusion.
a
Yeah.
100%, no matter where you are, right? So just do the work, be who you are, be a good person, right? Be honest, have high fidelity to integrity. I love that, and just keep showing up, right? And I think having a kid, I wasn't really sure I was going to have a kid, but as a parent, you have somebody who's looking at you, right? They're looking at how you respond. And I want to
Totally.
give my son the tools and the understanding of like, hey, bro, like you can do this, you can get through this, and you don't have to make sacrifices on what's most meaningful to you to get there, right? You don't have to be
That's
a different
right.
person, and you'll always end up where you're supposed to be. so, so for whatever reason, right, this has been my path, and I know I'm not the only one, right? And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
pretty cushy. Like I'm still in a nice house in Northeast Portland, right? Like my life is pretty good. I don't have a lot of want. I certainly have a lot of, or a lot of need, that I'm not getting. So it's been pretty good. But I think what makes me tick, to answer your question, like what keeps me
So
going. Yeah,
can I just mention something there?
yeah.
Right? It is so important, and that that you just showed to me a whole lot of wisdom when you
Mm,
said that you talked about abundance.
mm-hmm,
Right? Abundance is something that you tune into.
mm,
And you see that in people. You see that in people. You can tell the people that live in abundance or they live in scarcity. And
mm-hmm.
it's a mindset. It
Yes,
really is something that you tune into. It goes back to the glass is half full or half empty,
yes, yes,
right? I mean, that's exactly what you just
yes.
said, right? You can
Mm-hmm,
live with the glass full, and I'll tell you, living tuned into abundance is so much more fun than
mm-hmm,
being tuned into a world of scarcity.
mm-hmm,
And it's and because it's just anyway. I mean, think about it, right? Think about it. I mean, I look at you, and you just said, you live a pretty cushy life, and you just said prior to that you got laid off 3 times in the last 4 years. I mean, you know, you could be just as easily complaining
mm.
about I want a bigger house. I've been trying to get a bigger house, and I want a new car, and I want, all these different things. And you're sitting there going, hey, everything's cool, and this too shall pass, and just work through it. That those are the kinds of things that are just so helpful for people to learn
Mm.
and hopefully you know internalize for their own life. So anyway, so what makes you tick? Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what makes me tick is having real meaning in life, you know? not chasing. When I think about it, like you pushed me to do this, right? We talked a couple weeks ago, and you said, Hannah, write it down. What do you want? What do you want from your life, right? Like if you're gonna really manifest it, like write it down, like very clearly, you know. So, and that's always a great exercise, right? It's so simple, but it's so true. Like if you don't know what you want, you're never gonna get it, right? You
That's
can't, you
right.
can't, you can't invite stuff in your life if you don't have real clarity, right? Um, so I did. I wrote it down, and like a lot of the things that I want, right, are it really comes down to I think there's no greater gift, John, that you can ever give to yourself or to anybody else than presence, right? Being present, not being distracted, not thinking about something else, like just being present. And that's hard. We live in such a competitive world, right? Like we're just chasing, chasing, chasing. We're digging, digging, digging. And I think what I've learned is in order for me to get the things that I really want, to tune into the abundance that I want, right? It's not, you know, that big house. It's not a fancy car. I certainly don't want a yacht. I mean, I believe in
Oh
climate change,
God.
you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all those things, you know. It's more about simplicity, and like maybe it involves chickens at some point. I don't know, right? But I can see myself.
I love eggs. I love eggs.
Well, chickens are freaking cool, man. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
lot
no,
of
totally.
backyard chicken coops here in Portland.
Yeah.
Brady feeds two houses around just from here to school. He feeds the chickens. He got permission from the from the owners to
That's
feed the chickens, and it's
wonderful.
been a great thing, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's about like what gives me life is giving back and working on the things that I really care about. Like I've always been an activist. I've always been very progressive. And I've always wanted to help people, but I also understand that's the hardest thing to do. And it's very easy to get caught up in chasing and building other people's dreams, right?
This is
Um,
true. This is true.
you know, especially when you're
Well
in
said.
sales,
Well
right?
said. Yep.
In sales, you chase your commission, and commission you know, is about hitting a quote, about hitting a number, about building someone else's dreams. And that's taught me a lot. You know, like I remember, I blame you, right? And I blame you and I love you at the same time because this is where I needed to be. But I remember when I was working for you and Brian Boyce, I love Brian to the moon and back forever and always, and Brandon B. Secker, Brando. And you know, I was working as a relationship manager. I was just managing accounts for Expedia for our clients, right? At that time, it was Instant Software before all the acquisitions. And I love that job because like my job, and I believe in micro economies, right? Now, that's what I loved about vacation rentals in the industry is like these companies hire people in the local community. All the money stays in that local community. It's about promoting that local community, the coffee shops, the cafes, you know, the little
Sure.
bars, right?
Hmm.
That vacation rentals, they make that work, right? Rather than you go, you know, not anything against the Hyatt, right? But like you go stay at the
Yeah.
Hyatt, you might be eating at the Hyatt, right? You know, and like, you know, taking care of all their built-in amenities. So I really love that. And my job was just to make sure that the clients that we had were happy. I remember, you know, my first objective when hired was like, Hannah, you don't have to bring on any more clients. You don't have to sell anything. Just make sure nobody leaves, right? You know, just make sure
Just
they're
take care
happy.
of the one. Just take care of the ones that we have.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
love that job, you know, and I remember
Hmm.
you and Brian, you know, you're expanding the sales team. You're like, Hannah, you should move to sales, right? You should do this. You'd be good at this. And I remember, I'll never forget this conversation because it's pivotal in my life where I said to you, because I trust you, right? I trust you. And I see a lot of me in you, right? And you know, and you're a happy guy. You live life, I think, in a way that most people would really love to live their life with a lot of joy and a lot of happiness, a lot of authenticity. Like you bring joy into a room, right? You're famous for that. And I remember asking you, I said, John, do you think this is a good move for my career? And you said, there's nothing better. This is the best thing you can do for your career. So I was like, okay, I'll try it for 1 year. You know, that was 18 years ago or some crazy thing.
Yeah. That
You
was a
know,
long time ago.
a
Yeah.
lot, oh God, you know, a long time ago, I was a baby, you know, I didn't know anything. And I was like, because, you know, there's a stigma around sales, right? But
Sure.
I found my way through that. And I've always tried to, as an individual producer or as a sales leader, I've always tried to stick to like, look, there's plenty of opportunity out there, right? You don't need to get a yes from everybody,
That's
but,
right.
you know,
That's
help
right.
people, you know, but solution solve, right? problem solve and put people in the right place and care, right? Give a shit about
That's
their
it. That's,
experience, right?
that's exactly
Um,
right.
and don't lie about, don't lie, don't
No.
cheat, don't do weird stuff, right? Like you used to call me a sandbagger, right? Like, cause I would sandbag all the time, Hannah Sandmeyer, I'd tell you it's not coming in and then it would, like, cause I never try to force it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I never want to do something to harm somebody. So, I got a lot of practice doing that with sales.
So let me just mention something to the
Yeah.
folks that are listening. Okay. Hannah, uh, Hannah was amazing in that role. And I spent my whole life in sales since I was 11 years old. And the thing that people think about when they think of sales is money. They
Mm-hmm.
think of money and they go, well, I could never do that. Here's the bottom line with sales, folks. Sales is not about money. If you're doing it right, it's not about money.
Right.
It's about helping people. It's about
Yes.
solving their problems. It's about listening to them. It's
Yes.
about figuring out what it is that you have that can help enrich their lives. And, when you think about it that way, it's an amazing, amazing career. It's an
Mm-hmm.
amazing area to go into because it's a world of abundance, right?
Yes.
And you're
Yeah.
not looking at it as I got to close that sale. And Hannah, I don't know if I ever pressured you from a money standpoint.
Mm.
If I did, I apologize because I tried to build a culture around
Yeah.
helping people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Always being honest, always looking out for our customers.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you were amazing at it.
Oh, well, thank you, John.
Hmm.
Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a great experience, and I'm really thankful for the things that I've learned, and getting back to kind of the hardships that I've experienced, because I was laid off, and then, gosh, 5 months later, well, I was my previous wife. She asked for a divorce, and then 5 months later, I was laid off for the first time. And this is
Oh,
the COVID divorce, COVID layoff, right? So there's been a lot of
oh,
change and disruption, right? Where
and suddenly you're a single mom.
suddenly I'm a single mom. I'm trying to maintain the home that we bought together to keep my son in the house, and Britt does well for herself. So that was a big kind of hole to or a chasm, right?
Yeah,
But you just got to find a way. Like you get creative and you find a way. And I was committed to doing that. I will always be committed to doing that, maintaining stability for my son, because that's a promise I made to him, right? I brought him into this
absolutely,
world, right?
absolutely.
So that's my job. That's my core job. But yeah, so that was a lot of disruption, right? So everything I knew kind of was like taken away. It's like, wow, that's oh oops, like that's a lot to deal with. That's really challenging. And then got laid off this another time, right? With Thrasio, the company that they thought they're going through bankruptcy right now, so it's all public information. But they, another one where I was chasing again, John. Like we're digging holes, right? But are we digging the right holes, right? Are we digging
Yeah,
holes that
yeah.
bury us, or are we digging holes that free us, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
so with Thrasio, it's like, man, they got $1 billion in a single round, Series D. Never even heard of that before. They were the fastest US company to ever reach $1 valuation, and they went bust, right? They went bust
Wow.
9 months after I got there. Our entire team was laid off, right, in full division. And then the next company I went to, whereas in a challenging space, and it was a big build, and there was a lot of work to get done. But man, we pushed hard and we tried to get to the other side. But they had bad debt, right? So they also folded. They're also going, well, yeah, they're kaput, right? They're not even going through bankruptcy. They're just done. So again, another call. This was in December, December 1st, right? So right after Thanksgiving, right before Christmas, call with HR, 70 people on the call, all let go, right?
Wow.
Um, but my point being is, okay, listening, right, to these signals, right?
Hmm.
What's going on? Like, being open to what the universe is trying to tell me,
Go
right?
with it.
Go with it, right? Don't fight against
Yeah.
it. Go with it.
Yeah.
So, I sure you apply for lots of jobs, you get a lot of no's. It's kind of like sales. Like I think salespeople are the best people to be unemployed because we know what it takes, right? We know
That's
we're
true.
used to being rejected.
That's true. That
And
that that is true. That
and
is
you got to
true.
sell. You got to sell, right,
Yep,
in order to
that's
find a
right.
job, right?
And
All the same mechanisms are in place.
I'd like to just spend a couple of moments about your experience, talking about your experience in the Peace Corps,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that experience
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of shaped you a
It did.
lot.
Yeah.
So tell us about, because what you just went through, I mean, I think of survival. I think of oh my
Mhm.
gosh, ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and
Yeah.
downs and 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 the emotional roller coaster, if you will,
Yes.
of dealing with all that. And I feel like your Peace Corps experience was a real foundational part of who you are.
100%, John.
Yeah,
So, yes. So, when I was growing up in Boise, Idaho, I was born in Montana, the original Hannah, Montana. Never forget that, right? I'm gonna hold on to that. I'm gonna hold on.
yeah, that's
But
right.
I did spend a lot of my years in Boise growing up in, Boise, Idaho is a conservative state. Boise is a conservative city. And my mom's youngest brother, John, was gay, right? And he was gay in a time where it was not cool to be gay. Like a start now, it's like really cool to be gay. Like if
Sure.
you're not gay, like you're on the outs, right? But back then it was not cool. And I was very close to John. I was close to him, and we weren't really very close. Like I didn't really see him a lot, but I always had a special place in my heart for him because I recognized something in him that was in me, right? So even though I didn't know at that time growing up that I was also gay, that we shared that trait, um, I saw that in him and I really admired him and I really revered him. And John, during those years, those are the HIV was rampant. John did get AIDS. He died when he was 28 years old. And I remember
Oh,
that experience being so tough because he was such a young guy and he basically emaciated. I mean, the way that the HIV attacked his body, he couldn't keep any weight on. So I think when he died, John, I don't know, he's like 5'10". I think he was like 110 pounds or
oh,
something. I mean, terrible, right? And
yeah.
watching that, and then the hospitals wouldn't take him. I mean, this was like because of HIV and all the all the rumors and discrimination against that. So that was a formative, really tough experience, right, for our entire
I
family
can't
to
even imagine. I can't even
um
imagine.
so I was determined to do something to help people in a similar situation. So as soon as I graduated from college, got my degree in political science, I joined the Peace Corps, as you mentioned, and I said explicitly, like explicitly, I want to do HIV/AIDS work, right? Like send me somewhere where I can do that
So
kind of
that was
work.
on your Peace Corps application.
That was on my Peace Corps application. I don't think that's very common. Most people are like, send me wherever, I'll do
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
But I'm like, no,
yeah.
I'm very like this. I want to find a way to give back, to do something to help
Wow.
others, right?
Yep.
And they sent me to Botswana. It's Southern Africa, right above South Africa, and it was really tough times. I mean, this is in 2004.
And
They
you
and the
went
peace.
you went by yourself.
Oh
You
yeah,
were
peace.
you were Hannah, Montana,
I was
in
in
Africa.
Montana, a
Yeah,
white,
in
yeah,
Bots.
little white
Yeah.
girl. I had blonde, long hair at this time, if you can imagine, right? I
No.
didn't know nothing about nothing, and they sent me there. And it was great. That you just spend three weeks or 3 months, learning the language in the capital city of Gaborone. And I met my cohorts and still have wonderful friendships with a lot of the Peace Corps volunteers I served with. And then after that, like the Peace Corps is legit. You don't stay in the capital city. You don't stay under electric lights. They pick a village and they send you like where
Yep.
there's a need, where there's a need for a volunteer. So they sent me to this tiny little village in the middle of the country called Mukubilo. It's a little over 1,000 people, 98% unemployment, and over almost a 90% HIV infection rate.
So let me uh, uh go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the rate of reinfection was also super high. So
So
people were
you got
sick,
you got
and
what you got what you asked for.
yes, people were sick and people were poor, right? So that was one of the first things. So yeah, no running water, no electricity, no internet, no nothing. It's just me out there, right? Like, woo! I was legit like the first white person ever to live in this village, right?
Wow.
So it was an intense experience, and of course, I try to be, and the Peace Corps does a really good job of like helping you with this, but it's like, still your kind of your first world mindset takes over where, and it is kind of odd. It's like I'm a 21, 22-year-old kid. I'm sent here to help you, right? Like I'm sent here to help you with your
Yeah, I'm
problems.
here
It's
to
kind of,
help.
yeah,
Yeah.
like what? And it's like there's really big issues. Because this village was the people who lived there were nomadic tribes who used to live in the Kalahari, and they would go and they move about as they move with the seasons and where the food was. But there were diamonds there, right? So
Oh boy.
Botswana De Beers and Botswana, they have a partnership. It's actually a pretty good partnership as partnerships go with countries and diamonds. But they built a primary school and they said, well, come live over here. Right. So they used to be nomadic and now they were set. And the land was very dry. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for them to grow anything. So they lived off of government subsidies. That was part of my job. I was partnered up with the local social worker. And one of the things we did every month was hand out provisions, right, from the government. Botswana is a very rich country because they have so much wealth, the natural wealth, and they share that wealth with De Beers, which is really great. But that was a really challenging, very formative experience. And I remember going through, there's a little local clinic. Again, they ran off of a generator, right? But there was just a handwritten log where people would come in and test. And before they even found out that their results, they were already dead, right? And pages and pages and pages of this stuff. So that was a really intense experience, right, to have as a young child. And yeah, I was a kid. And one of the things I learned from that, in a very challenging ways, we don't have enough time to talk about all these different things, but was that it's really hard to help people. That's the hardest thing you can do, right? I was constantly worried about, like, my friends, they gave me one of those little iPods, like the one that clips on
Oh,
your
yeah,
clothes.
yeah,
I can't remember,
yeah.
like a shuffle. It was like a shuffle or something.
Yeah, you
But
just aged yourself, by the way.
I know. I'm sorry.
An iPod.
I admitted it. Okay, I admitted it.
Well, you said you were 43 at the very beginning, so there you go.
Yeah, but they had never seen something like that before. So what does that do? Like when you bring in something and you cause desire, right? Or you just bring in something that can be disruptive, or even my clothes, or any of that, right? So it was very challenging. But it was such an important experience. And so going from that, I thought I was going to go into civil rights law. I'm like, I'm going to go back home where I don't have to worry about all the just all the landmines everywhere as far as like responsibility and like your impact, whether it be good or bad. Like I'm going to go home and just work with, where I'm from. And that was another thing that I had read that I thought was really impactful. I think it was from the San people, a San woman, one of the tribal leaders said, things get messed up when people leave where they come from, right? And that's kind of true, like globally, historically, right? People leave, they bring their ideas, they try to like impress their ideas and their way of life, and it causes a lot of problems, right?
Yep.
So I was like, I'll go home and I'll just like I'll work with people at home, right? And I thought I was gonna go work for the ACLU. That was like my goal. I wanted to do civil rights law. And then I worked for an attorney and I saw what that looked like. And I was like, oh, no.
Enough of that. Yeah.
Oh, my God. No. No. So, and then I found my way to you, right? I found my way to you and to Brian and to Kirsten, right? I found my way to you guys. And I got myself into sales. And where I am now through all of these winding roads, right? Going back to what I was saying most recently, it's like, I've been digging, John. I've been digging. I've been doing it, I think, in the right way. I believe, in having fidelity to my integrity, but shoot,
absolutely,
I'm not getting where I want to be, man. And like I keep hitting myself on the door, right? These doors aren't opening or they're shutting, right? So where I am now is like, okay, how can I tune into abundance, get all the stuff that I want from my life, which is to be present primarily for my child, right? And for me, and to get some like real satisfaction out of my life, that's not about money or these physical, attainments, right? It's about having a good life and getting back to this sense of like servantship, and I've always tried to be a servant leader as I've held roles in companies where I have teams, and I've always tried to do the things the right way, but I still keep hitting in this door, right? So I'm like, okay, I need to do something different. So I think that this new economy, this creator economy, this fractional economy, however you want to call it, where people are saying, I don't really want to do the 60-hour-a-week job anymore where I'm on the road all the time and I'm missing time for my family. And then you fire me or you lay me off with like,
I didn't fire you. Don't be looking at me like I fired you.
No, but you know what I mean? Like this corporate
I'm just
race,
kidding.
right?
Yep.
And it's so challenging and it's getting more competitive. And now with AI and AI agents and generative, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like who knows what the future will look like? And there's no security. So it's like, okay, well, how can I use what I learned and help to transition those skills to help others? So I started this business called Up and Over Advisors. up and over, right? Helping you get up and over your revenue challenges. And I think what I really want to seek and who I want to bring into my life are folks who are, registered B Corps, triple bottom line businesses, companies that are solving real life challenges. And I want to help them set up and establish a scalable revenue system because, hey, at the end of the day, that's what it takes, right? For companies to hang out and hang around. Even as a nonprofit, like you need donors, you need
Yeah.
funding, right? So I want to do that. I want to very intentionally, and I don't need a lot, I need like 3 clients and that would be perfect. Right. Like 3 clients, that's it, and I do fractional work for them, but I do it in a right way. And I'm helping them put together those foundational pieces or scaling pieces that get them to where they want to be to serve their mission, to serve their goals.
And the reason why I know you're going to be successful, Hannah, is because of what you just said. You're
Mm,
going to do it the right way.
mm,
And you're doing it with an attitude of servantship. You're not
mm.
focused on the money. The money always comes.
Yeah.
And you've heard me say this a million times. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
And this piece of guidance that I got is something that's been there for ages. And that is, people want to work with people they like and people they
Yes.
trust.
Yes.
People they trust.
Yes.
And it's when you work in with the attitude of, you got to convince people that you really do in your heart want to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's going to fall in place. It's when you focus on the money that the money runs away from you.
Exactly.
And we've you and I have never done that. We've always had that in the back of our heads in terms of our revenue targets and stuff. But it was never anything that we focused on. It was always focused on taking care of our clients and taking
Mm-hmm.
care of people that we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have as our clients. So you're
Mm-hmm.
going to do great. You're going to do great. And there's just no question in my mind. Um, and I'm just amazed. My son went to visit his friends. This was years ago, probably 15 years ago, when he was in maybe 10, when he was in college and just got out of college. And his friend joined the Peace Corps in Cameroon.
Mm,
And my son went to visit him in Cameroon. And the
mm-hmm.
stories he came back with,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is no running water. There
Mm,
is he got his friend got a staph infection, and
gosh. Yeah.
yeah, and he had to get on a bus and I'm sorry, he got into a little car with 5 other people. It was
Mm-hmm.
like a Toyota Corolla.
Yeah. Right.
Had to go 6 hours to get to the doctor. I mean,
Yeah.
and then he had friends that who were attacked, women who were attacked.
Mm, mm,
And so I think back, I think about your experience, and oh my gosh, I mean, what an amazing, amazing experience you had. And I can see uh how that would shape your life moving forward.
mm,
And
mm-hmm.
I love and Hannah, it's always been wonderful working with you, because the whole reason why I'm doing this podcast is to help people,
Mm.
right? Is to share experiences
Yeah.
that people might be able to decide to use for themselves, to help them live better lives.
Yeah.
And I believe that we all share a common purpose, and that is
Mm.
to make this world better than the day we landed
Yes.
on it.
Yes.
And you personify that. You
Oh,
really
thank you.
do. And I love you for it. I love you for what you do and who you are. Congratulations on
Thank you.
starting your new business. And folks, you know what? If you're not inspired by Hannah's story, I don't know what's going to inspire you. And there's a Japanese proverb that
Mm.
says, "Fall down 7 times, get up 8."
Yes.
And in fact, my mom wrote it in
Yeah.
kanji, that I
Very
have it
good.
hanging in the other room. Um, and when I think of that, I think of you. And
Oh,
just
thank you,
keep
John.
going. Just keep going, and you're going to be you already are living a wonderful life, and you're going to continue to live a more wonderful life. So thank you for being who you are, Hannah.
Thank you, John.
And thank you for joining me, folks. Hannah Sandmeyer, you gotta love her. All right, folks. Listen, thanks for joining us. Until next time, God bless you. Bye.